I've lost 2 sisters in the last 2 years, and this series is called My Soul to Keep. And it's, the prayer I used to say as children, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. All of my pieces, or I would say most in this series, you see a red bird. Because we were always taught that when you see a red bird, the red bird is bringing messages from your ancestors or the elders who have passed. So even, I think this morning, I saw a red bird about 9:30, and I thought, whoa, I'm preparing for this thing today. So you see the pattern of the red bird in a lot of the pieces.
Greetings, family. I'm Dr. Nana Lawson Bush V. I'm a traditional African priest, and I'm also chair of Pan-African Studies at Cal State LA. Today, I would like to share with you my ancestral shrine. I'd like to put it in a little context, as many of us in the diaspora have been raised Christian and struggle with moving towards African spirituality. In the Bible, I believe the greatest part of the life of the Christ is not the crucifixion. It is the transfiguration. It's when the God or the human man, Jesus, goes up onto the mountain and meets his God self. This is the most important aspect of the life of the Christ. And this most important event, ancestors come, Elijah and Moses. And then he brought 3 disciples with him. They asked Jesus and these spirits, these ancestors, this particular important question. Should we build a tabernacle for you? In other words, they're asking, should we build a shrine or a meeting place for this particular spirit? And so a shrine is nothing more or less than a meeting place for your ancestors. Welcome to my shrine. There's one thing that you'll see carried out on my shrine, is that the items have particular meaning to members of my family. So starting with the white sheet. Most shrines sit upon wood and they are covered with a white sheet. And so I was going to go to the store to buy a white sheet, but the Spirit told me to check with my mother. And when I went by to check with her about having a white sheet, she pulled out several communion sheets. And this is one of them. So this has a tie to my mother, but also has a tie to many of my ancestors who were Christian, in fact. The next we have pictures. Pictures are very important, but if you don't have pictures, you can also just put the names of your ancestors. Next we have a protection item, typically goes on an ancestor shrine. Again, I'm not a Christian, but my family was. And so this item here was also made by my grandmother. So this also has a particular connection to their ancestors. Also have drink here. I have Old Granddaddy, which was the favorite drink of several of my father and several of my grandfathers. The flowers, I try to keep them fresh, maybe if they're carnations, every week and a half or so. Most people use white, but my ancestors have informed me that they prefer some colors. This bowl is where I pray and pour libation. This bowl also has meaning. I was out again looking for a bowl, and the Spirit told me again to just speak with my mother, and she provided me with this very fine crystal bowl. Another aspect, candles. We use white candles. You can use as many of those that you like. I typically keep fruit out. These are lemons. Here again, this is from a tree that my father has planted. Again, keeping that tie. I always also keep their favorite snacks just out. And so I have some sardines, I have some tobacco, I have some Doritos and so forth. But sometimes, once a month, I feed them a whole meal. So I'll cook breakfast and I'll have this all laid out here.
Hello, my name is Phyllis Jeffers-Coly, and I'm the co-founder and co-owner of Diasporic Soul. In February 2018, I got a phone call from my family in the States telling me my grandma was going to pass so shortly. It was anticipated next 2 or 3 days, and that my family was heading to Maryland from North Carolina. So I actually began an altar for my grandmother and ostensibly my grandfather at that time. I actually took a small basket, one that was made here in Senegal, and placed it on the piano. And I did it on the piano because we already had family portraits on the piano, and my grandfather's name is James, but he went by Jamie or Jazz. Subsequently, a few months later, Eddie and I were going actually across Sébikotane. Sébikotane is a suburb outside of Dakar. Beyond our house was a container sale, which is a thing here. It's kind of like flea market meets outdoor sale or something. So there was a church pew at the sale, and as soon as I saw it, I stopped Eddie. I said, "This has to be our altar," and that's how the altar became what it is today. Part of the piece about the altar as a church pew is because my grandparents were very devout Catholics, and I think most of you are familiar with the narratives and the history of Black folks and Christianity in the church, and the significance of the church, and particularly liberation theology in our movements for justice, our movements for civil rights. So for me, the pew is representative of that tradition and how it has supported us, and allows me to connect that tradition or those traditions with what's here, what's spiritual practice, African spiritual practice, which is this reverence, respect, and engagement, ongoing engagement with our ancestors. Part of that engagement for me includes daily bringing them water. These dessert cups were my grandparents, and I use them as glasses, water glasses for my ancestors. So every morning when I get up, after I start the coffee machine, I come back and I get these and I do water for my grandparents, my ancestors. Not just my grandparents, my ancestors. You may hear me kind of going back and forth between grandparents and ancestors, because initially this was about my grandmother Phyllis and my grandfather James, and then I began to incorporate my dad's parents into the piece, into how I connected with my ancestors. And that's new for me. I didn't have a really close relationship with my dad's parents for a number of reasons, including that my grandma died when I was really young. But my father taught me a lot about her recently, and I invited her in, and she's come, so she's here. I'm clear about that. And then again, there's times when I bring gifts to the altar. He also recently asked me for a dress, a pretty dress. So here's her pretty dress, and I just imagine I don't think my grandma really got to wear beautiful things, colorful things. I think most Black women of the era wore very muted colors. So I gave her the brightest, most least muted thing that I felt like she deserved and would want to have. So I come here on a regular basis and ask for help, ask for guidance, ask for protection, thank them for the gifts that they've given me in terms of what I'm capable of doing, the talents that I have, the opportunities that I have. I pray, I talk to them about helping, when I know my family is struggling with something, my dad with physical pain, or my brother, David, or, if Eddie and I are having an issue and we're being disagreeable with each other, I come here and I ask for intervention, and typically I see an impact within the same day. So I give a lot of credence to coming to this space and staying connected to people that love me even before I came out, even before I was born. They love me. I'm very clear about that, and I know very clearly now that they're with me. So this is my ancestral altar.
I'll talk to you now about a few do's and don'ts when it comes to setting up your ancestral shrine. Your ancestral shrine, your personal ancestral shrine, is for your blood relatives. You are free to set up a shrine somewhere else for those martyrs in our community, or those community members like Malcolm X and Zern Troop and so forth. But your ancestral shrine is for your blood relatives. The pictures you select should not have living people in them. So if you have right now on your shrine pictures with you and your grandmother, you should remove them. And you want, as much as possible, a singular picture of a particular ancestor. If you have had ancestors who have died early and tragically, like in a car wreck at 30, then you don't, or they committed suicide, I would suggest that you do not put them on your shrine. I would also find a place that doesn't have high traffic. It can be seen, but you don't want a whole lot of people passing by your shrine, and you want to cover it. And lastly, you want to keep your shrine, your whole shrine area, very clean and very neat. And also very organized. You don't want to have just everything on your shrine because it becomes sort of confusing for the spirits. So very neat, very clean, and very organized. So in closing, trust yourself, trust your spirit, but also listen to the rules and the guidance that we have provided in this video. Thank you for your time, and may the ancestors bless you and guide you all.